and welcome back to the Elite Football Show. My name is Hader and I'm your host as usual. Today, we've just seen Man United scrape to probably one of the most luckiest victories we've seen in a long time. And the person to discuss this with me is Akash, the man behind the United link. Akash, welcome to the show and thank you for doing this with me after such a frustrating performance.
It's always a privilege to come on the show, Heather, and thank you for inviting me. And congratulations on the rebranding of your show, and I wish you all the success. And yes, it was it's that game's taken a toll on all of us. I'm pretty sure because I expected United to show a little more intent from the minute go, but I think it was extremely similar to Palace in terms of the intensity, in terms of how we approach the game. But we managed to grind out a positive result, and even after the final whistle, and that doesn't happen. So I think it's a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, more negatives than positives, but a lot needs to change. And I think today's result basically papers over the cracks, and it's United need to wake up. It's not looking good as things stand.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you're always welcome on this podcast. You're a great friend of mine, a great friend of the podcast. But I just want to pick on a few things. Look, it's very difficult not to be reactionary. I felt so angry during that whole 90 minutes. And I think the reason why I felt angry is because you look at the squad that's out there, or even the starting 11 that's out there, it's playing well below its potential. And I think you can argue, obviously, fitness is not there at the moment. But the other thing that people say is, well, Manchester City have come back and they're looking fit. So you can argue that I don't understand why we're looking so off the pace. But I just want to start with the lineup first, because I think when you're looking at it on paper, that was probably our strongest lineup. I'm surprised Bailly didn't start. I thought he would definitely get a start after the way Ollie talked him up. But looking at it as well, I just think there was more than enough quality to win. And you're looking at the strong start we had initially of the first 5 minutes. But my biggest problem is we can't keep that tempo and intensity up. And that's also a problem, I think, during Ollie's reign, that you looked at when he came in, he was fantastic in his first sort of, 3 months. Then we dropped off in terms of form. And then we went into the following season, last season, with a very poor start. And then we picked up again. And it's these peaks and troughs in our reign under Ollie that is really causing me some concerns. I mean, am I correct in feeling like that?
Heather, you shouldn't blame yourself, because as a Manchester United fan, you expect to start the season on a positive note. The reason why we all of us were optimistic and still are, maybe to a little extent, is because we ended the season so well in the Premier League. We turned the tide around as a team. I think Bruno Fernandes came in and had such a positive impact, and he just lifted the side single-handedly. But it's important to notice either that how many of the players in the squad are rising up to him. It's important to realize that you can't expect Bruno Fernandes to put in 10 on 10 performances week in, week out. It's literally asking the man to carry us to the title. And that happens on a rare occasion, especially if you're a midfielder. When Van Persie did that for us single-handedly, he had a sensational season when he was at United, and he single-handedly helped us challenge for the title. But I don't think football's the same anymore. It's more about quality all across the pitch, and a lot of these players don't look ready, to be very honest. If you see the game, there was no intensity from the minute go, and I think last season being extended to for such a long duration has definitely had an impact on this team, because their fitness levels don't seem to be that high as compared to City or say Liverpool. And It's a fact that United are not able to put the best performances on the pitch because they simply don't look ready. I thought that majority of the players who played today were simply not good enough, and this kind of result is, when we look at the scoreline, it seems like a thriller. It was, but you'd expect more quality from United, and certain players we'll speak about this in the podcast, but I think United need to really step up. It's there's no other way of putting it, because we can blame the tactics, we can blame the lack of preseason, we can blame that players are not in good form, but but we need to just accept the fact that things are not the best at the moment. And the Crystal Palace result was bad. Today's performance was bad, but the result was positive. So it's it's something we can build on, because I don't feel the need to be extremely negative after such a performance, because I feel we're just getting there in the season. It's just been our second game of the season. So I think that a little bit of perspective is needed. I wouldn't say that things are perfectly, perfectly fine at United. They're not. Changes certainly have to be made, and transfers have to be completed. United have to get Sancho. United have to get Telles, and if possible, even a centre back. But it looks like the business that has been carried off the pitch is certainly affecting our game on the pitch, and United need to simply get ready and mend their act in the last few days of the market.
Yeah, you make some fantastic points. One point which I just don't understand. Not it's not to do with you. It's just a point that has been bandied around, saying the business is so bad off the pitch. What's going on off the pitch is so bad. But this is a squad that was playing out of its skin. Near the end of the season, they finished third. The drop off in the levels is just crazy. And this is my issue with it. Is that that's a question I ask a lot of people. Is it the fact they're unfit, which I think is a lot to do with it? It's going to take 4 or 5 games, but that's also a lack of planning on the club's part. It's also a lack of planning, in terms of getting the players back, and it's also a mentality thing for me. I think Pogba specifically today, I don't want to go in on him because I honestly don't think it's his fault. I don't think he should have started. He had COVID. He's obviously not 100% fit. Van der Beek had a fantastic game against Luton. He should have got his first start today. That's a managerial thing, right? The manager picks the team. Two issues for me is that defensive partnership is just not working. That defense today was absolutely shocking. On another day, Brighton hit the post how many times? 4 or 5 times? They deserved to win. We got the victory. I'm not sure how, but Brighton were fantastic. And I think what stood out to me is, firstly, that back post where Wan-Bissaka was defending. How many times did Solly March get space? And a better player would have finished off 2 or 3 of those chances. The defense is a big, big problem. They just look so I guess there's no chemistry there. They don't look coordinated. They don't look like they're working as a unit. And everyone knows that the pace with the centre backs is a problem. They're both playing. Obviously, we're both playing a high line, and the problem is that when teams with a little bit of pace are attacking or trying to take advantage of them, you're seeing both centre backs really struggle. And Bailly should have started, really, shouldn't he, today? And we shouldn't be persisting with Lindelof and Maguire. I mean, I've got a bit of an issue with Maguire. I really think that we've dug ourselves a big hole spending 80 million on him. And now he's captain. You can't go and shift him and put him on the bench, or you can't get rid of him because you spent so much money on him. He has to work. But then Lindelof next to him doesn't work. So, I mean, against a better team, we would have been smashed today.
I agree with you. Like, the points that you make are extremely valid, and it's tough to counter them because you make a lot of sense, Heather. But let me tell you one thing. Um, I think Maguire's performances last season were not the best. I wouldn't say that he's the perfect defender for 80 million. But I think he was overly criticized last season, because I felt that there was a significant improvement in our performances last year after him and Wan-Bissaka came in. And I think that obviously the Lindelof and Maguire partnership will not work, because no title winning side has that defense. To be very honest, it's not looking good for Lindelof as things stand. It doesn't look good, because you'd expect better performances from him, because we have seen it in the past that he can be good on certain days, and we have seen quality. But I can see defenders bullying him, and that doesn't work well for any manager to see his player being bullied on the pitch constantly, week in, week out. And for how long will Matic cover up for Lindelof's mistakes? How much time will Maguire cover up for Lindelof's mistakes? And there are scenarios where Maguire makes a mistake and no one's there to cover for him. So basically, both the defenders don't have their back, and I think that's one of the biggest problems in the squad, because if the defenders don't have a good chemistry, and if the defenders don't trust each other, and if the defenders don't know uh, their positioning well, because if you look at United, you'd expect Ole to coach them better in terms of their defensive mindset, and how they set up before a game. it's just that whenever I see a team having a go at our defense, it just looks so volatile. It just looks like we're about to concede, and 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 the lack of stability and the lack of confidence is truly something which is of huge concern. But I think you also brought up Pogba and whether he should have started. I agree with you. The manager has the onus for the players to start. I personally feel that Pogba is not ready. He doesn't look ready. He's literally jogging on the pitch. He's not looking up to it. His A game is not there. His distribution seems to be a bit off. And to be very honest, when he gets dispossessed, he's not able to track back, and he's losing balls in key areas for Brighton midfielders to come and dispossess and push Brighton's play higher up. So I think that when I tweeted about Pogba, majority of the people said, "Look, you have an agenda." Obviously, I don't have an agenda. Pogba is a brilliant player. Pogba is a brilliant player on his day. He's a world class player on his day. But him starting ahead of the team's benefit is not something that sits down with me. I feel that if he's not ready, he simply shouldn't start. And the same goes for players all across the pitch. If they're not ready, they shouldn't be starting. Rashford was not fit; he shouldn't have been starting, but he still is. He didn't look at his best. Today was a great day for him. I think personally, he scored a beautiful goal. He changed the tide for United, and you could see that he wanted to make a difference. If you look at Martial is generally the person who literally lifts our game to the next level with his movement, with his skills. Today, the player barely got any service. The player barely got any chance to score. And when he did, he looked sloppy. So there are certain players who are not up to it yet. Like I said, it's we can blame 10 things which are going wrong at United. It's difficult to point out. But it's a collective failure which is leading to performances being bad off the pitch as well as on the pitch. And if the club don't understand that, and if the club don't back the manager, things are just going to go from bad to worse. And I feel that today's result is papering over the cracks, and it's important that United wake up, because if they don't, then we are facing Spurs next, right? And it's not going to be pretty, because they're going to come at us with everything that they have, because Jose knows that United aren't in their best phase right now. And Jose is going to set up in a way where he's going to set up his teams on the counter, which is going to be devastating considering Kane and Son are in form. So United need to wake up. It's simple as that.
Yeah, fantastic points. One point I want to sort of bring up is that, we say that the team don't look, there's a lack of chemistry. There's just a lack of, I think, fluidity in the side. But I mean, that's the question. A lot of people are arguing: is this an Ollie problem, or is this a tactical problem? Because we've seen that when you play on a counter-attacking sort of style of play, we look very devastating. The goal came from a counter-attack with Rashford. I think the issue is that when you're asked to break a team down, and when you're asked to keep hold of the ball, it's what people say, that individual brilliance, which is what United, I think, have relied on for a long time. It seems like sometimes when the players go out, they're not sure what they're doing. And we were playing it long a lot of the times today. You saw Maguire playing long to Martial. And why are you doing that when you've got someone like Martial who likes ball to feet? He's going to come deep. It seems like there's this lack of understanding in the team of what their roles are, and I think that was translated today. And you can always say, oh, there has been a tweak to the system. We look like we're playing more of a 4-3-3, but at the end of the day, the players don't look like they know what they're doing. They don't know what they've been sent out to do. And I think that's a managerial. No, I'm not saying Ollie's a problem. I'm not saying Ollie out, but I'm saying you've got to question what's going on the training ground, because defensively we look shocking, as if they've never played together. Some of these players have played all season together. So that sort of performance, you can put it down to lack of fitness, but that understanding, that's nothing to do with fitness. And the problem is that we look like we're going out. We've got 11 players who don't know each other. One of the questions that was asked to me before we came on by someone, I'm going to ask you this question. He's questioning whether the sort of Pogba-Bruno combination works. I think it does. We've seen it does, and it can work. But I think he's questioning, Bruno, when you talk to a lot of Portuguese fans, they think he's better as an 8 rather than a 10. We look at Pogba at the moment, he's playing very, very deep. We were at our best when Pogba was making those runs into the box. Do you think that Ole needs to find a way of getting this midfield working again? Because on paper, that's up there with the best in the league. but they got outplayed by Brighton, got outplayed by Palace. It's a big problem, and that's not a personnel problem, because you can't say, I think that midfield is the strongest that we've had since Sir Alex has gone. So you can't say to Ollie, oh, it's a personnel problem. The problem is that I don't know if they're being coached in the correct manner. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I think you have every right to criticize Ole in terms of his tactical ability. And I think, you know, I think Ole is still a very young manager in terms of managing a top side. And he will make mistakes. Look, it's given that he will make mistakes in certain aspects. And I think, it's important for United to realize that if they're going to set up a midfield of Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, there has to be a certain amount of balance. And that balance is obviously brought in by Nemanja Matic. So when Matic comes and plays in this side, we look like a whole different team, because the defense has a cover in front, so they don't tend to make as many mistakes as they often do. I think United's defense got exposed against Palace because there was no Matic. Pogba got dispossessed, and Palace knew exactly what to do. And I think today when Matic started, I think we would have conceded pretty early on had Matic not been playing. So it's important to realize that the kind of impact that this player has on this team. So when you talk about a midfield of Bruno Fernandes and Pogba being the best, it doesn't become the best unless there is a Matic in it. So when we talk about adding steel to a midfield, I think that's what Matic brings to the table. And in terms of Pogba, look, he's a fancy player. He's a luxurious player. He's a Rolls Royce type of player. He'll make you want to watch him. He'll do things which are not warranted, but he'll still do them because that's his style of play. You can't change Pogba's game. So if Pogba wants to try a trick and get the ball past his man, and if it doesn't work out, there needs to be someone behind him who covers up for him. And I don't think Bruno Fernandes is that man, because considering Bruno plays so high up the pitch, if Pogba loses the ball, it's literally difficult for Bruno to track back as fast as the other team progress the ball into the other team's half. So it's important to realize that what Matic brings to the table, because I think everyone literally focuses on Pogba and Bruno being the best midfield. But I think if Matic plays, Pogba's game is also enhanced, Bruno's game is also enhanced. So today we saw Matic playing. Pogba's still not at his best. You know it. Pogba's still not ready. He's still not ready to play 90 minutes, in my opinion. He needs to get back to his level best. And I think we need to see him playing a lot more behind the scenes, because that's the only way that he'll gain his sharpness. And he needs to stop losing the balls in key areas, because that's extremely dangerous. And I'm a little worried if that happens against Spurs, because that's not going to be easy for Maguire and Lindelof at all. They literally look like Bambi on ice, and it doesn't look good for United, especially if you look at players running at Lindelof. He literally looks lost, and he's not able to clear the balls when he's defending. He'll just haphazardly just kick the ball away, leading through throws in key positions. And I think that he needs to be doing better for a player who plays for Manchester United. Obviously, the fans have a right to have high standards. No, they have no excuses for that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Something I do want to say. So 2 points. We talk about Bruno Fernandes. The thing that I love about Bruno, and look, I think he's been pretty bad for the last few games. I think he had near the end of the season, he was absolutely gassed, wasn't he? He was out of energy, and that's why we bought someone like Van der Beek, so that Bruno doesn't have to play every single minute of every single competition. But when you look at Bruno, he didn't have a good performance at all today. I thought he was actually very poor. I think there was nobody really that played well today. I wouldn't say there was anyone that I was impressed with. But I will say about Bruno is that mentality, he always affects the game as well. That penalty at the end was absolutely unbelievable. Top corner, that's what, 100th minute of the game? And the second point as well, goal and assist. He didn't play very well, but he's still affecting games. And this is what United haven't had for a long time, is that United haven't had a player where, when United's players play badly, we've seen that in the past 7 years, 4 or 5 players play badly, the whole team plays badly, they can't get the victory. But Bruno played badly today. He played badly last week. Yet he's coming to the side again, starting. He didn't start in midweek, and he's got a goal and an assist. I mean, that's a top player, and that suggests to you then that United need more players like that, because even if a top player has a bad day, they can still affect the game. And United's problem is that, and you look at the bench, this is what I want to say to you. Look at the bench, and I believe Dan James wasn't on the bench. There was nothing on the bench to change the game. And I'm not sure whether Ollie's sending a message. I think he might have done that in the first game, perhaps the board saying, look, I need reinforcements. But surely now, despite that victory today, surely now the board need to look at it and think, right, we need to get players in, because this cannot carry on. Otherwise, this reminds me of Jose's third season. We saw with Jose, obviously, we had a very poor preseason, and he didn't get the players he wanted. And by October, it was a mess. And I did tweet out that I'm getting sort of Jose third season vibes with this, that if it doesn't go Ollie's way in the next 4 or 5 weeks, God forbid he's on the chopping block, and then we're making another change. I mean, are you worried about that as well?
I think that's too early in the season to think about that. But I agree with you, Heather. Like, it's important that we acknowledge what's happening, because I'm not going to be one of those fans who says, no, Ole is not going to lose his job because he's here to stay for the next 10, 15 years. It's not going to be like that. Modern football isn't like that. And modern football punishes those who are managing bad sides, and he's going to be blamed for that. And the sad part is that he's not even the biggest problem at United. He's clearly not the biggest problem. He might have his off days. Look, players have bad days, and managers can have bad days as well. It's all about realizing the potential that Ole has, and does he have the potential to lead us to a title? Look, I'll be honest here.
I'm unsure, Akash. I'm unsure.
He's a manager who's a novice, and you can't expect a novice to lead the team to a title. And I just want to say that, look, he might win something, and that'll be the happiest day of my life to watch Ole win something as a manager at Manchester United. But even if he fails, and even if he does, I think he'll be giving a beautiful side to the next manager that comes in, who can work wonders with the team. I'm not saying that Ole can't, but from what I've seen is that United have a brilliant plan A. And when that plan A works, it's brilliant. United plays some great football when it does. But what happens when the plan A doesn't work? There's literally no plan B. And when you don't have a plan B, that's where fans and rival fans also start to questioning the tactical ability of the manager and whether the manager is good enough to, manage the club. So Ole has definitely done a culture reboot. He has positives. He has brought in a wave of change, and I'm happy that he has. But it's all upon the board to back him now, because if they don't, then there'll come a time where people will get frustrated with results. They'll say, you know what, Ole is not good enough to manage his side, and he'll be the first one to take the blame, and he'll be the one who'll be kicked out. And the next thing you know, Pochettino comes in. He'll have probably a one good season. He'll be back one window, and the next thing you know, he's sacked as well. So it's a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah,
we said the same thing about Mourinho and Solskjaer coming in, and things will change forever. But here we are, literally 8 or 9 days before the transfer window closes, and without a right winger, without a left back, without a centre back. This is not to be blamed on Ole at all. It doesn't depend who takes the fall, because at the end of the day, it's a manager who does it. It's the first thing. You can't kick out a first 11.
Yeah,
you can't do that. You can't ask the board to leave. So it's a manager who gets the blame for everything that happens at the club, for success and for failure. So like you said, is Ole good enough? If will he get criticized? Of course he will get criticized, because what the players do on the pitch is a reflection of the coach's ideas and the coach's beliefs. And if they don't reflect that well, it's really sad, Heather. It's because it's a never-ending cycle. We've been told as fans that there's transition at the club for 7 years. How long? Literally how long? Liverpool have done it in lesser time than us. After Klopp has come in, they've literally done it in a lesser time. And Liverpool squad, trust me, was 10 times worse than what we had.
Right now, yeah, absolutely. They were, but they backed the manager. I'm going to read a quick comment and then we'll carry on. But Samuel, hello mate, thanks for your comment. Thanks for getting involved. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. As much as we love him, I'm assuming you're talking about Ollie. Questions have to be raised concerning Ollie. Adding Sancho will hardly transform us to world beaters. We lack cohesion and direction, relying on individual brilliance alone. Guys, get your comments in. Make sure you get involved. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about the result. Look, I think that's my problem. I'm not going to be one of those that, and you know my views. We've been speaking for a long time. You know, in December, I was of last year, I was very concerned. I just didn't think he had it in him. To be able to turn it around the way he has and to get us to third was fantastic. And I think that's definitely got to be, you got to give him praise for that. But he did his job, right? He got us to third, got us back in the Champions League. And what's happened? Essentially, he's been left out to dry in terms of transfers. There's no excuse for what we're seeing right now. But as Samuel says, you've got to also look at what's on the pitch. And we looked at what's happened the last two games. Whether they're match fit or not, for me, is not. I know we've discussed this, but for me, that's not a problem because there still has to be some sort of cohesion and plan. And it doesn't. I can't tell you what we're trying to do on the pitch. When we play the counter-attacking style, I know exactly what we're doing. We've got the players to do that. But he's now got a midfield that can control a game. And you're right completely. The problem is bigger. We know the bigger issue. The bigger issue is the board. It's the owners. It's Woodward. There's the negotiation, the transfer strategy, and that's what we'll come on to now. But we know the problem is bigger. But then also we have to also be objective, don't we, on what we look on the pitch, and we have to say we have to call a spade a spade. If the performance is poor and there's a lack of direction and cohesion, as Samuel said, then we have to call that out. I think the problem is that there's some people who call Ollie out regardless what. I mean, there's people complaining about his comments yesterday and making things up about his comments, which are ridiculous. And then there's some people then who can't also objectively look at the situation. I mean, the question I want to ask you, now you said you doubt about the title. A lot of people say, oh, well, Klopp had 4 years. But for me, that you can't compare the two situations because Klopp, one sec, Kieran. Don't worry, Kieran. We're going to talk about a few transfer rumors after this, and Akash does speak to a few journalists, so we will do that. But when you look at the idea that Klopp had 4 years and then he won the title, there was so many different factors. One, Klopp was a world-class manager. As you said, Ollie's still a novice, and would he have got the job if he wasn't a legend? Most certainly not. But you look at Klopp, he's come in. Yes, they've bought fantastically well for him. They follow the plan and strategy, and United don't seem to have that. Or Ollie's trying to bring that in, but he's not getting backed at the right times. But you also have to take into account that when you look at Ollie's credentials and you actually look at perhaps his ability as a manager, you do have to have question marks over that, don't you? Because you could say, let's say an Ancelotti was United's manager, you could argue he'd be getting more out of this team currently, couldn't you?
To be honest, mate, United always have gone for the biggest managers ever since Sir Alex left. I read an article which said that David Moyes was the seventh or the eighth choice manager, and United. It's not that United haven't tried. They tried for Guardiola, it didn't work out. They tried for the best of managers out there in the game, but majority of the managers were happy at the clubs that they were at that time, and Moyes came in, that was a total disaster. Van Gaal came in, he had such a positive vibe about him, but the football that he played was dire. And then Mourinho came in, and he lifted the side, but still, Mourinho being Mourinho, third season, out. Then comes in Oli. So it's not that United have not tried getting good managers. It's just that United have always been at the wrong place at the wrong time, if you get what I mean. It's they always get caught. And last time when there were talks about Ole not being good enough, Poch was being spoken about, but United backed Ole in the market with Bruno, and he really turned it around. So when we talk about United as a club, we need to show more ambition. We don't act like a big club anymore. I don't feel the fact that United are where they were before. No, it's not. United are slipping, and it's sad to watch them slip. And they will continue to slip because nobody at United wants to take the blame. When you look at Ed Woodward, he's a all he's done is acknowledged his mistakes in the past, and he said, you know what, we didn't do the best work in the transfer market, but we'll do better. But you just can't say sorry and get away. We are Manchester United. If you could say sorry at Brighton and get away, it would be a different story. But if you say sorry at Manchester United and get away with it, it's not good enough.
It's
He
the
should
lack of
not.
accountability, Akash. You know, for example, like you say, Ed Woodward. He's had 4 managers now he's appointed, and he's got it wrong. I mean, look, he's made mistakes. So if this is a manager, like we've seen, the manager makes a mistake or the manager's not performing, they get sacked. But then you look at Woodward, the lack of accountability. They know that it doesn't matter because as soon as the money's rolling in for the Glazers, he's done his job. Football isn't the priority anymore.
Matt Judge, just look at Matt Judge. He can't get he you know it's so sad to listen to players and ex-players talk about United contracts and transfers, because I really appreciate what Evra did this week. I really appreciate what he did this week by posting about Manchester United and how things work behind the scene, because it's an absolute state of shock at how United operate, because it's simply not good enough. Just look at Liverpool. I feel so jealous when I see a club like Liverpool do well, but it's so hard to ignore the kind of work that they're doing, because it's actually phenomenal how they operate as a club. If you look at their wage structure, Salah is the highest paid player in the lineup, and deservedly so, because he's been probably one of the best players in the season. And if you look at Van Dijk, he earns less than Shaw, I think. If you look at Liverpool's wage bill,
That's a big problem, Akash. You know, you look at Dean Henderson, 120k. We're paying our goalkeepers. Henderson 120k. He's played 1 game for United. And you've got De Gea 315, and you've got Romero on what 75k a year. That's so much money that look, it's a mismanagement of the club. But the problem is that that's now filtering down to Ollie, isn't it? It's filtering down to his ability to want to improve the side, but not be able to bring players in. And something X has said here quickly. I'm just going to read one comment out quick. And he said, this was our best 11. How does it justify such a poor performance against Brighton? Where are the patterns of play? Where is the attacking football we were promised? He's got a point, hasn't he?
It's I when I see such questions, it's tough to disagree, Heather. It's tough to disagree. I mirror these feelings. I genuinely mirror these feelings, and I as a fan want United to play the best football that is there, and that's attacking football. But you need to realize something, Heather, that United are still not ready to play that kind of football, and I'll tell you why. The moment United play higher up the pitch with such a defensive line, it's game over, buddy. Before they even realize it, it's game over. And the manager knows that. That's why we set up on the counter. Because, and you can imagine the kind of frustration Ole must be facing, because if you're facing on the counter, you'd expect your defense to absorb the kind of pressure from the other side. But our defense crumbles under that as well. So neither can he play attacking football, nor can he play counter-attacking football. So where does that leave Ole? He that leaves him with basically possession football, and when he plays possession football, this team simply can't, make the difference in the final third. So it's kind of sad. I feel sad when I watch Manchester United sometimes, because I know we've become extremely predictable. United, if we are going to play a certain brand of football, then I'd expect a little bit of stability at the back line, because it's important to realize that I agree with Jose Mourinho when he said something that good sides are made from the back, and that's actually so true. When you actually look at Liverpool, when you look at City, they're not sides who crumble under pressure. They don't, because they're well. Not only are they well coached, that's an absolute
very well coached.
They're extremely
the manager. You know that with Guardiola, they're playing exactly to the game plan. With Klopp, as Samuel says here, obviously, you knew when Klopp came, he'd play the game and pressing. They play because the manager's identity is on the pitch. But this is a problem, right? We don't know what Ollie's identity is. I'm not saying he hasn't done good. I'm not saying we haven't played great football. We were excellent post-lockdown. As Kieran said, that post-lockdown form was brilliant. But I think my problem is that I don't know if he has the ability to push sort of a pattern of play and quality onto these players. It's good. It's too many times it's that individual brilliance, isn't it? You're just sending the players out there, and it seems like that sometimes. They'd be like, right, Rashford's goal today was individual brilliance. The goal, Maguire's goal today, was a mistake by Brighton. United are winning games because of individual brilliance or mistake. I think that's a problem. I know it's only the second game, etc. We shouldn't overreact, but like you said, completely with that defensive line. But again, Ollie knows that this defensive line, we're going to play a high line. He knows it's poor. So why wasn't Bailly playing? Why isn't he? This is the point. You get paid to make these decisions. And today we got away with it. But another day, it could have been 4 or 5 to Brighton.
Mate, if it was going to be so ugly today, I'm not even kidding. It had they actually scored the chances that they had, it
Yeah.
would have been an extremely embarrassing defeat. And and I'm not even kidding. There was a scenario where I thought that what I'm not getting a good vibe from this game, because the moment they started having a go at the post, and I thought that it's hit the post once, okay, maybe twice, but they kept going at a goal, and they kept
Five
having,
times.
and I was literally shitting myself when I was watching the side, because watching United play against Brighton shouldn't be that tough, and it shouldn't be. So if you watch City or if you watch Liverpool, they kind of cruise from these games, and they cruise through such games and it's sad, because I think even the manager must be disappointed with the team today, and he'd expect better, because people are not blind. People are going to see through this performance. And no one's going to laud this performance. You might laud the character. You might say, it's a great thing that the players didn't give up till the last minute. Look, fair play. And Donny, if you're talking about Donny, he's been extremely good ever since he's come on. Like, you can't find faults in him. He's actually had a very positive impact from the moment. He's actually won the corner that led to the goal, and he was only and he scored last game as well. So he's trying to make those kind of decisions which have a positive impact on the team, and bailing out the team. And so is Bruno Fernandes. I personally feel that Bruno's the having a lot of frustration in his game. You can see it. You can see the frustration in Bruno's games, because he wants the ball, and when he gets the ball and plays higher up, he plays beautiful passes. What an assist for the Rashford goal! Like, literally, he that was a beautiful pass. You know there's a player in him, and there's a player in Paul Pogba. There's a player
But is that individual brilliance rather than the players are getting coached properly in training? Because that's my thing. There's nothing against Ollie, but there's a question here actually, so I'll ask this to you. Samuel's got another question. Some great comments, mate, and thanks to everyone else in the comments. Samuel said, I think we lack intelligent players. Bruno came in and became a game changer. Van der Beek has come in, you feel that he'll be operating in a different dimension to the rest. Yeah, clever players, isn't it? And when I look at the squad, I'm not saying that the players aren't intelligent, but there's too many players that I would argue don't have that footballing acumen. I think you can say Mata's one of them, but his legs have gone. Van der Beek certainly is you can tell he's got a footballing IQ. It's at a very high level. Bruno's another, but can you argue that maybe the manager doesn't have the same level of IQ as a top manager? Because this is I'm still going to say this. Apart from the defense, this is that front six. Obviously with Matic in the midfield and the front three is up there with the best in the league on their day. Like, I don't think you can deny that, but I'm just not seeing. I'm not seeing that they're being coached well enough.
If you really want to have a look at Ole's performances, I think he sets up well in big games. I think that's his forte, if I'm not wrong. I think he likes to take up those games as a challenge, and that's where his ability to coach a team like Manchester United shines. But when you actually look at the Premier League as a league, it's not that simple. Every game is a challenge in itself, and if you underestimate a side and go into that game without the level of preparedness that you actually need to have, it's embarrassing, because I don't want to see my team win after a full time whistle. It's not that I don't support it. I'm the happiest guy, because who doesn't like a win like that? But to be very honest, do we actually expect to struggle against teams like Brighton or a team like Palace? It's not fair on the fans, because you know what? I don't want to be too overly critical, because that brings out a different side in me, and I tend to have those thoughts that, I'm going in a different dimension in terms of criticizing the manager, but I don't want to get into too much into that, because I still feel that if Ole is given the signings that he wants, maybe, just maybe, we can see better performances. Because I think when he got in a quality player like Bruno, the team actually start performing well. I think when others see Bruno play, they wish to uh, step up their performances as well. And that went for Paul Pogba as well. The moment Bruno came in, you could see that Paul Pogba's game improved as well. So I think better players lead to better teams, and better teams need to be managed by good coaches. So when we talk about a coach, I think the only person I would go for, and I don't think I would go for Poch, to be very honest. I would go for Nagelsmann.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I mean, to be honest with you, I would bite your hand off for Pochettino, but I will agree with, and I've said this all window. This is not me being Ollie out. It's just me playing devil's advocate. We have to unlock a lot of the, I would say, a lot of these questions. I think we have to be objective. We have to assess things as you see them. Too many times we're saying, well, yes, we know that the board are not backing Ollie, and this is the most frustrating thing. It's not his fault. He needs better quality so that he can show what he can do. And when I look at Chelsea, I'm not really jealous of their players. I'm jealous of the ambition they're showing. I'm jealous of the fact that they're giving Lampard, who is a much more inferior manager than Ollie, I will say that. They're giving him all the tools and the foundation to try and get to the next level, and we're not doing that for our manager. Look, there's still, just under 2 weeks of the window left. You might see a difference, but my problem, not my problem, but my thing towards Ollie is that, yes, that off-field stuff is a problem, but what we're seeing on the pitch the last 2 days, whether you're fit or not, is simply not good enough. For me, it's worse than I imagined us to start the season. And that's, I guess, where, look, you're as a manager, you're expected to prepare the team. Yes, no preseason, but you're expected to still get the players out there and to show some sort of system and patterns of play and some sort of cohesiveness and fluidity. And we're not seeing that. I mean, Akash, I'm going to ask you your last sort of things on that. How would you fit Donny van der Beek into the team? Because I think he deserves a start now. Where would you play him? I know Ollie played him at number 10 against Luton. And then after you answer that, I'm gonna ask you about a few transfer things. I know you speak to a few journalists, so maybe you can give an insight for about 5 or 10 minutes. So yeah, what would you do with Donny?
I think, speaking to people who have actually seen him play in Ajax, and I've only heard good things about him, Heather, because he's such a positive lad, and I also have seen a couple of his games when he played at Ajax, and I think he plays best in the number 10 role. Undoubtedly as close to the box as it gets, because that's where his intelligence lies. When we used to speak about Chicharito and his intelligence in the box, the fox in the box type of movement, that's the kind of intelligence that Van der Beek brings to the table. He At Ajax, he played three positions actually. He played as a DM, he played as a center midfielder, and he also played higher up as an attacking midfielder. So he's an extremely versatile player, if I may say so. But I think his best position is to play as far as the number 10 role. So that's where I would play him. His intelligence needs to be close to the box. That's where he steps up truly.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, I did a podcast with a Dutch football expert, and he was so glowing of Donny van der Beek. I've watched Van der Beek a lot actually before he joined, and I knew the quality he would bring. I'm just trying to figure out. I tweeted, well, actually, I messaged someone saying I'm not sure Ollie has an idea of where he thinks he's best yet. I think that it seems number 10, but I think he could definitely do a job further deeper as a number 8, even a number 6 in the games where we have a lot of possession. But let's move on quickly. The next 5 minutes, transfers. We've got to talk about this. But look, I don't really see us signing Jadon Sancho, if I'm being honest, from the reports. I know United will put down probably a bid soon. That's what all the British journalists are saying. Jamie Jackson did say that the other day. But I do expect United to be busy in the sense I think they'll sign players. Doesn't it frustrate you, though? You look at Tellez, and I'm sorry to say about Shaw. Someone tweeted me, one of my good friends tweeted me during the game saying, oh, Shaw's been excellent making those marauding runs. He won the free kick for the goal, the first goal. I said, is that how low the standards have fallen, that we're praising Shaw because he made a run. There's a distinct lack of quality in his end product, which Tellez will bring in abundance. And that's a deal that could be done very easily. It's such a small fee for a player of that quality, obviously being in the final year. Doesn't it frustrate you that United are not pushing forward with that? Then you've got the Sancho situation, which United have let drag on all summer. Look, if the agent fees and the personal terms were an issue, what United should have done, they knew Sancho was their top target for every year. United should have sorted that out back in sort of before the end of the season, probably what, May or that sort of time, March to May, spoken to the agent and been like, look, these are the personal terms, let's agree them. So that when it came to summer, we could work on the fee. We know United have money problems. I don't want to get into that. But that is what a big club does, right? They're efficient. We've let this drag on all summer. And what if we don't get him? Are we going to scramble around and get Douglas Costa? Or we're going to get Perisic? It's just such a bad planning and way of doing your business. And I guess like the final point is with the centre-back position, I'm really starting to think that if we don't get Sancho, we'd be much better going and getting Upamecano for 60-odd million euros or whatever it will take, getting a left-back in and getting someone like Saar, because United have so many glaring issues and that defence is just going to let us down all season, isn't it?
Mate, when you speak about frustrations, try being a transfer account on Twitter.
Yeah, I know you get people messaging you saying, why have you not signed so-and-so, as if you're in the negotiation team.
It's tough, it's tough. And even when I don't want to think about transfers, I am forced to think about transfers, and that spoils my day because I honestly don't want to see indecisiveness. I don't want to see, United look inexperienced, mate. And for a club of Manchester United's stature, that's nowhere near good enough. And to be very honest, the Jadon Sancho deal has dragged on for such a long time, but the optimistic person in me still believes that he'll come. And I'll tell you why. I think that United have waited for so long because they still don't know when the fans are supposed to return. And that's having a huge hit on revenues. I'm not defending them. I know this should have been done a long time ago. And it's shambolic that it's not been done. But I'm just trying to reason with you and tell you why things are as they are. So they feel that they're losing around 4 million to 5 million a week in terms of revenue.
Yeah, it's about 110 million, a season.
Yeah, so that's where United have taken a loan against their, from a credit facility in order to manage operation costs, if I'm right? Do correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, you're right so far, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel that United have seen other clubs do business. Chelsea have gone for Havertz. Not every club has done big business, but literally in the Premier League, almost every club has done more business than Manchester United, barring 2 or 3 teams. So it's not that United are not aware. I was not arguing, but say having a conversation with Simon Stone on Twitter. And from the idea that I got from Simon Stone was that, look, United are not chasing 30 or 40 million players. You can't expect to compare other clubs' business to Manchester United because it's not operating at the same scale at all. So the kind of frustration the fans are feeling is justified to us because we are fans and we want things done for the best for the team. But from the club's point of view, they're trying to get the best possible deal that there is in terms of getting Jadon Sancho to Manchester United. Because look, it's not just a 100 million transfer. There are wages that need to be paid, the agent fees that need to be paid, and overall it's going to be an extremely expensive operation in COVID times. I'm being very honest because that's what I've been told when I speak to people, that you should not criticize the club overtly in this deal because they're trying to get the best possible deal at the best possible price. So obviously the only thing that's frustrating is the briefs that go out in the media, because I don't think any fan deserves that, let alone Manchester United fans. Just to get engagement out of the fans, frustration is not a fair way to do that at all. It's not fair on the fans.
Do you think they're genuinely doing that? They're putting out these briefs because all these posts, when you see people put the admin of United's social media saying, oh, check out this goal against Fulham in 2015 or whatever. Do you think they're genuinely doing it to increase engagement? Because obviously fans are going in there and they're commenting sign Sancho and they're having a go at them. I mean, that's very cynical.
I comment in those posts as well. I'm not going to lie. I tell them to, take a break once in a while because it's not fair on the fans. Just after Crystal Palace, you're asking, let's have a look at the 2015 goal scored against Sunderland. No, mate, that's not how things work. That's not how things work. But the fact remains that the social media team is not the one conducting the transfers, are they? They're just doing their job in order to engage people and fans into content related to Manchester United. So so that's how things are at the moment. It's extremely frustrating, but I still believe the optimistic person. Fuck, I lost connection now.
Is everything all right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. I was speaking about Manchester United and how the social media team operates. Look, like we are all frustrated at the moment, but it's not the social media team that conducts the transfers, do they? So it's not them. They are just trying to engage fans in Manchester United related content. So while we might take out our frustrations on the club, it's it's important that we realize that it's not going to change as long as Woodward and Matt Judge are there. It's not going to change. You can't expect them to change overnight. They're not going to become efficient overnight. That's how Manchester United operate, and unless they go, United fans have to get used to the fact that that's how things are done over there because they don't. And now it's all about how much of it do we want to put up with because frankly speaking, I don't think fans are going to be extremely patient for a very long time. I never expected Matt Judge to come into the limelight, but here he is. Everyone's literally speaking about Matt Judge and how he does negotiations, contracts being
Yeah,
offered in the
as
last.
a debt manager, the conflict of interest is just it's startling, isn't it? But I think, look, I agree with you on the Sancho deal. My biggest problem though is that why have other deals not been wrapped up? We know that, and this is the point. It's a long-term issues from the ownership. Is we're so heavily debt laden and we've got such high debt obligations that if they weren't there, we wouldn't be having these problems. We would have money to spend, and that's the point, isn't it? That the years of all the debt repayments and the interest has now come to bite us now with COVID, and we don't have this revenue coming in from match day fans. And the problem is, like, Tellez is 18 million, potentially 18 to 20 million pounds. Buy him. We need him.
Yeah, uh, I think that's a deal that's being worked on, and I don't think we should be too frustrated on that deal. Reason being that I think speaking to I spoke to the editor of Record magazine in Portugal. He did mention that things are being worked on. It's not as advanced as people say it is, but the deal is being worked on. I don't think they've agreed on a bid or a valuation yet. Because if that was the scene, then we would have heard a "Here we go" from Fabrizio. But things are not as close. So I think that that deal could be wrapped up early next week. We should have some hope on that front, or maybe over the weekend as well. Who knows? But my feeling is that we go all out for Sancho next week.
Interesting, interesting. Akash, I'm going to ask you one more question before we wrap up. Centre back, is there any movement on that? I know Smalling possibly out the door, hopefully soon. I mean, we know the issues of Rojo and Jones, but do you expect Smalling to sort of set off a domino effect for United in the sense that he'll go and United will look at a centre back? Anyone in particular, or is it just paper talk?
You it's a glaring fact, and I think even Gary Neville mentioned this that it's a
Oh, one
glaring
sec.
fact.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, it's a glaring fact that Manchester United, everyone knows that they need a centre back. It's an absolute necessity this window, and if they don't get it done, then they have Maguire and Lindelof and Bailly. So they have to decide whether they want to back the manager in terms of what he needs. And I agree with Gary Neville when he said that, Sancho will elevate United's game to the next level in terms of our attacking options. But United are not going to challenge for the title with that defense. So it's an absolute necessity that we get it done sooner rather than later. But I think there have been a couple of links in terms of Pau Torres. I don't think he's on anymore. Badiashile, Buafsi said that a first bid went in, got rejected. So United have not come back for a second offer. Monaco want the player to stay at the club until unless they get a brilliant offer for the player, something in something on the lines of Martial, a similar fee. I don't think United are going to pay that much this summer. Um, I don't see any other links. Upamecano was linked, but you know what? That's a hefty investment, and you can't expect United to get Sancho and Upamecano. So if United get Upamecano and Tejas, that's plan A. If United get Sancho and Tejas, that's plan B. You can't expect United to go all out and conduct transfers on all fronts. As frustrating as that sounds from a transfer account, from a person who runs a transfer account and who wants more signings, it's extremely frustrating. And I want United to get a centre back, but it's difficult to see them getting it over the line right now.
Yeah, I agree. Just some of Kieran's comments. I don't think any centre back is on, and it's hefty but needed. Completely agree. But look, I just think that I would just be doing away with the Lindelof and Maguire partnership. It's just, it's as you say, like the manager has to live and die by his decisions. And if we carry on playing this, it's going to cost us more and more games. If Bailly can keep fit, play him. If he can't, you've got Tuanzebe. Hopefully he can keep fit. If not, I'd be playing Mengi. But look, this is not really a situation United should be in where they don't know their best centre-back partnership. Or Ollie does, but it's not good enough. But Akash, thank you very much for joining me today, mate. It's always a pleasure to talk football with you.
Likewise, Heather, and thank you for having me on. And congratulations on the new podcast. And hopefully, we see a great milestone soon in terms of achievements for you and your podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, mate. Honestly, thank you so much for all your support. You've been amazing. This is a first. I know it says Red Devils Talk at the top, but this is our first heavy hitters show. Hopefully, Akash, obviously from the United Link, can join at least once a month if time permits him. But make sure you check out all our content. We're doing some great stuff. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Anchor as well if you want to listen to the audio version. So that will be out later on. We'll be pushing this out on Monday as well. So Akash will definitely give this a retweet to all his followers as well. But make sure you hit the like and subscribe